Hi, my name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help people build intentional, significant legacies for themselves and their families by coaching them in real estate. Now, today what we're going to be talking about is what is it like living in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm sure by now we've all seen the reality TV shows, we've all seen very specific lifestyle-related material that people are watching out there. But the fact of the matter is those kind of genres don't really capture the overall general experience of what it's like to live in Alaska. So today what I'm going to be doing is kind of talking about that. Obviously, talking in generalizations here, so this might not represent everyone's experience of living up here. But I'm going to go ahead and present it in as good a light as I can. Most accurate light as I possibly can, and hope to make that as clear as possible. Before we get started though, make sure you give this video a like, make sure that you subscribe to the channel to receive more content like this in the future. And without further ado, let's go and jump into it. First off, one of the big things I would say about living in this state is it feels very isolated sometimes. I was actually talking to somebody who's a flight attendant, and we're talking about it. She said that she used to actually live on an island, and Alaska actually feels very similar to her as living on that island did, just because it can be so challenging sometimes getting up here because it actually is pretty isolated geographically from the rest of the lower 48. So it's going to feel kind of isolated sometimes. For some people, that's great. Second, you have got tons of things that you can go and do in the area. You don't really fully appreciate this until you are going to the lower 48, and your options of things that you can go and do are going to be pretty limited. I will say that most of the stuff I'm talking about there, though, are going to be very outdoors oriented, like hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, rock climbing, surfing. Your ears are working just fine, you heard me right, surfing, and berry picking, salmon. There's just all sorts of stuff that you can go and do. So there's lots of activities. Now, kind of going into that and tying into that is just the energy in the state is very high. I think part of that is just because it's still a very young state. And so you do kind of attract a lot of people up here who kind of have that take the initiative and jump in there and wanting to start stuff, initiate stuff. So you do get a lot of energy in this state, especially during the summertime. And the reason for that, I think, is partly because of the sun, because it is literally out about 24/7 during the summertime, depending where you're at. And Alaskans just go and go and go and go and go during the summertime because we know, these are the good times. So we need to take advantage of this as much as you can. So energy is going to be very high in this state. Kind of tying into that is, like I said, Alaska is a very young state. So that being the case, you can still talk to people who were here before Alaska was accepted into the Union, which is just insane to me. I mean, to us, an old house is probably something built back like in the 60s or 70s. Most other places, that's really not that old. For us, that's almost ancient. Not too bad, but it's getting up there. And you find something like pre-statehood, and I mean, you kind of want to just stop and just look around a little bit. It kind of feels like a museum, honestly. And you can still find like abandoned mines from way back in the day. You can find the equipment the farm equipment of the original kind of settlers here, kind of in the Matsu Valley and Eagle River area. You have people still whose grandparents came up here and settled on homesteads. So it's a very young state, and the people up here are really still going to have kind of that last frontier mindset going into it. So it's a pretty fun group of people. Now, I said last frontier mindset, and there's a pretty good reason for that, and that is that Alaska's default setting is wild. Okay. You really start appreciating this when you're in Alaska and you kind of start looking around, but nothing gets built unless a lot of work goes into it to clear some of the trees away and just make it real accessible and usable for doing what it is that you are wanting to do with that specific piece of property. So Alaska's default setting is wild, and we as Alaskans kind of just put some filler in there and try to kind of compromise a little bit, I guess you can say, and get what it is that we're trying to accomplish there. But yeah, Alaska's default setting is wild. That's the bottom line. Has this been useful for you so far? If it has, make sure you do give this video a like, and if you are also having questions about Alaska and maybe you just want to have the perspective of somebody who lives up here, feel free to drop those in the comments section down below. I get to as many of them as I can, so do make sure that you keep them coming. And if you have any future videos you'd like to see covered, you know what to do, drop them down below. I'm 100% open to suggestions. Now, kind of talking about the people that are up here in Alaska, you know, really kind of, it's not unique just to Alaska. You get it in other places too, but up here in Alaska, there really is kind of a sense of the community kind of just coming together when it has to, because we kind of find ourselves pitted against nature and any number of obstacles fairly often, it feels like. So when the chips are down and there's, you know, an earthquake or some kind of blizzard or something where a large group of people is going to need help, Alaskans are very quick to step up to the plate and help their neighbors. That is something that's just kind of ingrained into our culture up here, where if there is a need, then we're going to be the one to step up and to help as best we can. You know, another part of living in Alaska that doesn't get a whole lot of attention is that if you will live here, I know this is the political season, so you're probably not wanting to hear this, but if you live in Alaska, you are going to get a ton of information and stuff coming in from people who don't actually live in the state. And the reason for that is there are a number of groups and other people across the country that really take a huge interest in anything that Alaska does. It gets to the point where it's difficult sometimes for us to even build a simple road somewhere. We have so few roads already. Every time we're trying to build any kind of a new road or highway, it becomes a huge logjam issue, because you get a lot of people that are who don't live here, aren't going to be taking care of any of them, you know, don't have to deal with not having a road going to where they need it to go, that are going to have some kind of opinion on it. And not just on that, but on a lot of other issues as well. So if you live in Alaska, you're kind of used to getting a lot of political information coming to you, largely funded from people from out of state. So that unfortunately is just one of the parts of living up here that doesn't get a lot of attention. But if you're going to do that, yeah, that's coming, and after a while, it doesn't get too difficult to look around and look at people who are running for political office, and it's kind of obvious they're getting a ton of funding from out of state. So, yeah, just something to look forward to. That being said, though, Alaska is not the state that's going to be excluding people if they're not, you know, originally from here. If someone is looking to come and move up here, very warm and welcoming. You know, we just don't like the outside influence from people who don't plan to actually live here. Now, another thing that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, Alaska is insanely diverse. You know, this is an international hub, okay, because you've got Russia right over there, you've got Asia, you've got Canada, obviously the US, and Anchorage International Airports, or the Stevens International Airport, is actually quite an international hub. So it's a very diverse kind of area. So that's something not a whole lot of people really notice and appreciate, but it is something that is important about the state. It's very diverse, and you know, it does have a big history with diversity as well. So go look it up. So in summary, Alaska is a great place to live. If you are looking for for something that's going to kind of feel like a little bit more rugged and a little bit more like the frontier, this is going to be a great place for you. If you're looking for somewhere where you're from is a big part of your identity, like saying I'm a Texan or I'm a Californian, or any number of these big states, then Alaska is going to be a pretty big boon for you. I know for myself personally, anytime I go to the lower 48, it's kind of a badge of pride being able to say I'm an Alaskan, and automatically I become the exotic thing in the room. So I sure hope this has been useful. If it has, make sure you do give this video a like. If you have any other questions, I try to get to as many comments as I can in the comment section. But if you need an answer from me directly, make sure that you reach out to me through my Facebook page. That is going to be in the description down below, and that's going to be the best way to for sure get a response from me. If you want to start looking at homes in this area, maybe you're thinking about moving up here and you're just kind of curious, make sure to check out my app, and the video describing how to download that and use it is going to be coming right after this. So thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you next time. Downloading my app is pretty simple. You simply scroll to the description section of my videos, click on the link there. It's going to take you to my website. From there, scroll down, hit download app. It'll take you to a place where you enter in your phone number. Enter that in, click send link. It's going to text you a link to the App Store. And from there, you'll have to click on that, enter in your email address, and then it's going to register you to the app, and you'll be able to start modifying your search. You can modify number of bedrooms, bathrooms, property type. You have a lot of modifications you can do on there, or just draw a shape to it. From there, you'll have the ability to go and just browse through, create your own specific saved searches on there that's going to make sense for you. Go ahead and add notes just so it makes sense. And that's going to be kind of the basic search capabilities. There are a lot of extra bonuses and things to this that make it really beneficial, like walking you through the entire process as a buyer or seller and giving you all the details that's involved with each one of those steps. So never at any point are you going to be lost in the process. So we've kind of just scratched the surface here, but that's just to get you started.